Thank goodness for football, and thank goodness the government have lifted the ban on football matches, even though they are still restricting the number of spectators at the pitches. Now, at least it keeps my husband out from under my feet on many a Saturday afternoon. He's an amateur football referee, and today he's off to the local factory to referee the factory's cup game. When he's refereeing, I like to send him off with something to give him energy and that will help ward off any of the nasty bugs he may pick up at the football ground, especially in this damp weather like we're having at the moment. Now, I've got a huge glut of curly kale in my Dig for Victory garden, and he'll do well with a plate of this in the recipe that I call Footballer's Fare. Now, kale's a protective food, you know. It gives us more energy and has more calcium and phosphorus than even the excellent cabbage. And it's full of iron too. You know, the greener the leaf of the vegetable, the more vitamins and minerals it contains. So kale is one of those excellent foods for nourishment. Now, if you're trying to use the outer leaves and that hard central stem to avoid waste when cooking kale, you'll end up with more soup than you know what to do with. Let the chickens peck at that. We're just going to use the more softer inner leaves and their stems to cook when we're using kale. Now, of course, there's a proper way to cook all your vegetables to make sure you don't lose vitamins and minerals and that you serve them at their best. So let's have a look at the best way of cooking kale. Now, the first thing I've done is I've been out to the garden in this awful wet weather and picked about a pound of curly kale. Although it's soaking wet, I've still given it a very good rinse off, and I'm now taking each leaf and stripping very roughly the leaf from the stalk of the kale. Put this into a separate pot, but don't throw your stalks away. Pop them to the side for now. Now that's the last of the leaves stripped. I'm going to put them to one side. Do make sure that you've got an oil skin on your table because you will get very wet. Now I'm going to take the stalks into my fist and chop these finely and pop them on a plate when they're done. That's the last of the stalks cut finely. Now, in a saucepan, pop in up to a gill of just plain water and add level spoons of salt to the water. Now we're going to bring this up to the boil, because when you're cooking green vegetables you should always add them to boiling water, and what that does is that destroys the enzyme that when you're cooking will take away the vitamin C. So by plunging them straight into boiling water, the enzyme's destroyed, and that means you'll keep vitamin C in your greens. So I'm going to pop this on and bring it up to the boil. When it's boiling, I'm going to pop in the stalks, cover and simmer them for 10 minutes. Now while that's simmering, peel and grate some raw potato. And roughly chop the kale leaves. Now after 10 minutes, add the kale leaves and heat onto a high flame until it begins to shrink a little. Then cover and cook for 2 minutes, boiling fast. Normally we would take this off the heat and leave it covered for 12 minutes, but today I'm going to add to this mixture about 1/3 of what I've got in the saucepan of grated potato. So I reckon there's about 3 cupfuls of kale. So I'm now going to add a cupful of grated raw potato. Stir that in, and if you have some polony or a saveloy or 2, cut them up and add them to the mixture. But I haven't been able to come across any of them, but I do have some little scraps of bacon fat and bacon bits. So I'm popping them in, and I'm going to give that a good stir, and then I'm going to pop the lid on and continue to simmer this for a further 10 minutes. Pop the lid on and let it simmer. Season with salt and pepper. Give it a good stir. And there's a delicious plate of footballers' fare for my husband before he goes out and about refereeing. Now there's a dish to keep footballers or family fighting fit to win this battle. Come on, England!